Hey everybody, I wanted to put together the short video after finishing my Wyoming LLC video. If you haven't seen that, and if you want to learn how to incorporate in a state like Wyoming, watch that video right up there. As I was putting that video together, I realized that there are actually a lot of considerations when it comes to figuring out where to place your LLC, and more importantly, in determining whether you're considered to be a resident or not of a particular state. So if you're somebody who's trying to figure out how to move states, how to move your tax residence from a high tax to a low or no tax state, I'm going to give you 28 questions that you can ask yourself, and they'll hopefully point you in the right direction when it comes to determining whether the state would view you as being a legal resident of that state or not. Obviously, you need to make this video with a big disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a CPA. I'm really not qualified to be giving anybody professional advice on this topic, but I have gone through this myself as somebody who was once a resident of a high tax state, California, and now no longer is. It's not straightforward to leave from a high tax state to a lower no tax state. It can be done, but you have to be very careful that the state doesn't view you as a tax resident after you move, which is easier said than done. But these 28 questions that I'm about to give you should help give you some kind of an indication as to whether that state would still view you as a resident or not. Again, not legal advice. Now, I'm going to give you a list of 28 questions, and ideally you answer no to each one of these. If you do answer no, then it means that you have a stronger argument for not being considered a tax resident of a particular state, although, of course, the state might think otherwise. So take all of this with a grain of salt. Ready for the questions? Let's go. All right. Do you own a home in the state? Do you pay rent there? Do you work there in person or remotely? Do you have magazine subscriptions going to an address in the state? Are you a member of a church in the state? Are you involved in the community of that state in any way? Any social, religious, or professional organizations? Do you maintain a storage facility in the state? Have you expressed an intent to return to that particular state in any way? Do you use a local bank account within that state? Have you used ATMs in that state recently? Do you have credit card transactions in that state? Do you obtain professional services within that state? Does your spouse live in that state? Do your children live in that state? Do your children attend school in that state? Do you claim a property tax exemption in that state? Do your telephone calls originate within that state? How many days a year do you spend in that state compared to other states? Do you maintain a driver's license in that state? Do you have a car registered in that state? Do you have business interests in that state? Are you licensed to practice a particular field in that state? Do you obtain professional services in that state from doctors, dentists, accountants, attorneys? Do you own investment property in that state? Do you own other investments in that state? So as you can see from my list that you just went through, it's not at all a straightforward affair when trying to move from a high to a low tax state. The answer to every one of those questions I asked, ideally for you, is no if you're trying to move into a lower or no tax state. Hopefully this was of some help. If you're interested in setting up an LLC specifically in Wyoming, then stay on the channel, and my Wyoming LLC incorporation video is going to play. And in that video, we'll talk a little bit about some of the other considerations that you should have when deciding where to incorporate your first LLC. All right, thanks everybody.